publicly, which is we have more threats from more directions than any time ever before. The only difference is we get a little more of the specifics, but the top line is exactly the same. There is no, hey, we're saying this is bad, but it's not as bad as it might sound like. It is a real challenge every day, but there are good things happening in the country, and I'm spending part of time at home talking about some of those things too. I'm going to be at a food bank at Columbia on Thursday. I'm going to be at the Sheltered Workshop in Springfield today, where they've for a long time now created opportunities for people to have a place to go and work every day that wouldn't have that place otherwise. So lots of good things happening all over the country, and then trying to manage these rains and the flood. And you're there with McGraw, not there because of that today, I guess.
Well, that's what he's saying. So I guess
like a snow day.
Yeah, I guess we're going to go with that one. So you look at the political climate across the board, cutting budgets is the norm, and it's really interesting to see how you've been able to get a lot of money appropriated to some military defense appropriations that are going to benefit, places like Fort Leonard Wood and the Missouri National Guard. So how'd you get it done?
Well, you do that, I think, to some extent you do that by prioritizing. There was an agreement with the president to, in my view, spend more overall money than we needed to spend. But on the defense side, we do have to be sure that we're doing the right things to defend the country. And some of those things have a big impact on Missouri. The planes built, the Growlers, the plane that really is part of almost every flying package now, and what those do is disrupt any effort to find out where those planes are, and they're made in St. Louis, as are the Super Hornets, and we're going to build another 12 of those next year, so that keeps that important line open. Some construction at Fort Leonard Wood, as well as at Whiteman Air Force Base, the C-130 training facility in St. Joseph. People from at least 19 NATO countries came there to train last year. But in the budget that I'm the chairman of, we really just simply reprioritized, eliminated 18 programs, didn't do 23 new programs the president wanted to do, and for the first time since 2003, have an increase in National Institute of Health research on Alzheimer's and cancer and the brain initiative, that now we can look at what people are made up of, because we understand the genomic structure now, and lots of research is going to happen. And so that 6.5% increase is hopefully a big step in the right direction. But you do that by not doing some things that you've been doing, so that you can do things that, at least in my view, and ultimately in the view of the Congress, were more important than some of the programs that were duplicative and unnecessary.
And some of those defense appropriations you mentioned, the Super Hornet, the C-130, there's the Tomahawk missile system. And I was reading about the Army National Guard Cyber Protection Team, and this sounds like science fiction mystery stuff. What exactly are those?
Well, maybe our biggest threat right now is cyber attacks, cyber warfare, whether it's the daily attacks on the banking system, the financial structure, or the potential attacks on how we run our utilities, how we communicate, all those things that could be crippling to the country. And that it's a constant, it's out there. And so we did pass a bill that I co-sponsored on information sharing. If you're being attacked and you're a utility company, without violating any competitive rules or anything, you can now not only tell the government, but you can tell the other utility companies, here's what we see coming, here's how we're trying to push it back. Step in as quickly as you can if you have any ideas to help us do that. And so there are a lot of cyber fighters, cyber warriors that work for, unfortunately, the Chinese and the Russians, but also that work for us. And I really like this National Guard program on cyber warfare, because what it does is sort of the best of the National Guard. You take people who are out there every day seeing things from a different perspective. Maybe they're the IT person at the bank, or the IT person at Ameren, or the IT person somewhere else, and then in their role as a guardsman, you bring them in to supplement, augment, occasionally upgrade what you're doing, and talking to people in the Guard and Reserve. This is, I think, the leadership of the Guard and Reserve. This is one of the areas where I believe you can make the most of somebody who's willing to continue to serve if needed as a National Guardsman or as a reservist, but is also out there seeing what's happening in the real world fight every day of people trying to get our how you make the refrigerator better, how you make that jet aircraft we just talked about. This is a constant fight, and the real danger, I think, there is the critical infrastructure of the country. If you really want to bring America to a halt, you somehow either stop the financial structure, or obviously, we know what happens when there's an ice storm where we live. Imagine if there was something else that shut utilities down and nobody could quite figure out how to get them going again. That would be crippling to the country. And so the cyber bill we passed is important. It was in that last piece of legislation that was voted on, as is this bringing people in from the outside to be part of that ongoing cyber fight.
And I was sent with a message to you from my wife, a thank you note. She has been lobbying largely for the Affordable Care Act, which is kind of in the Missouri House right now and trying to get it up to the Senate. And she's been to the state legislature several times, met with your office, and your office has been the most receptive. So get on my wife's good side is always a good thing, Senator.
As the man who understands this better than anybody else would, that's your advice, right?
Indeed. And 4 kids, one was a governor, 2 attorneys, and then one that just crossed double digits. I think you and I are in the same class where neither one of us are really ever going to get to retire, are we?
That is very possible.
Thank you for the time.
Possible. So we might as well just enjoy it, every new challenge, and whether it's 11-year-old Charlie Blunt or former Governor Matt Blunt or my other kids in between, they are fun to be part of what they're doing.
Enjoy the family for the rest of the holidays and look forward to working with you in the new year. And yes, you'll be hearing from my bride, I'm sure. Thank you, Senator.
Well, I look forward to talking to her, John. Great to be with you this morning. And maybe McGraw will show up later in the week.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. This is easy. I can stick around. No big deal. Thank you.